If he really likes you, make no mistake, he will do these things. We're going to dive into this today. So, how can you differentiate between the men who are genuinely serious about you versus the ones who are possibly going to use you? Now, when I say possibly use you, sadly, there is a significant population of human beings who are rather wounded and they believe a relationship will fulfill them. Whether you're a man or woman, this is a predominant experience that's happened because, on some level, we don't need relationships from a survival perspective. So, a lot of it is based on our emotional needs. And yet, we have a severely traumatized population. Now, I know that sounds defeating, but it's the fact. Think about it. How many people have had multiple relationships if they've reached midlife? In fact, many people have had probably 5 relationships lasting 3 months or longer. And while we might trivialize that, that's actually a fair amount of people. And why I'm saying this, if they've had 5 relationships of 3 months or longer, and they've had maybe a marriage in there or a couple significant relationships, the reality is many people are seeking that connection, but may not be capable of a serious relationship. So, what I'm going to share with you today is a perception based on a party I went to about 4 or 5 months ago. It was a group of about 100 people, dear friends of mine that have collectively the group. I mean, they've known that in the group, it's been 25 years in the making, but a lot of new couples and older couples and that sort of thing. What was interesting, there was at least 30 couples there. And these are men who are deeply devoted to their partners. And why I know this is there was a space within the evening where people got up to share how they felt about each other. And what amazed me was when the women spoke about the men in their relationship. And they spoke from such a heart-centered space. It actually made me cry in many cases. And then when the men got up and shared how they felt about their partners, their wives, their girlfriends, it just brought many people to tears. So I just want to say that while there is a dysfunctional group of human beings in the dating marketplace, most men in particular are good guys. They're just bad daters. So we're going to explore how a man shows up when he likes someone. And I think this is partly predicated because if you watched a more recent video of mine, I've actually met someone that I'm interested in. And while I have no idea where it's going, and it made me reflect on when I really like someone, what do I do that demonstrates that I like someone? Now, before I get into these 5 or 6 things that demonstrate a man likes you, I just want to say that one of the things I practice in this initial phase with this person is I asked a lot of probing questions to determine alignment. Let me just say this. Many people might like you, they might lust for you, they might have limerence for you, but does that mean that the two of you align together? Are you on the same page when it comes to wanting the same things? In fact, ladies, I invite you to write this down. Whenever you're communicating with a man for the first time and it has a romantic inclination, I invite you to ask, what does commitment mean to you? What does commitment look like for you? And what does a relationship look like for you? When I say the words, what does it look like? Okay, I want you to think about, describe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Without an understanding of what it looks like, most people are winging it. They're winging it. They're running around with their heads cut off like chickens, thinking that somehow, let me rewind this for a second. Many of you know I have 2 children. When the boys were born, I had no idea how to parent. I learned on the job, okay? But this was so radically different because these were 2 people that we had to be responsible for these 2 people. In relationship, we are talking about 2 sovereign beings. But my point in bringing up this illustration is there's no game plan of how to raise children. And sadly, there's no game plan for many people how to be in a significant relationship. Now, I want to introduce you to 2 books that I highly recommend reading. It's by the Gottmans. First book is 8 Dates by Doctors John and Julie Gottman, and 7 Principles for Making a Marriage Work by John Gottman. Okay. And by the way, replace the word marriage and add the word relationship. Why is it important to read these two books? By the way, all the books I recommend are listed below. Is because this gives you a blueprint. It gives you a framework of what a relationship looks like. These are experts that have interviewed over 30,000 couples. That's 60,000 people to determine the mechanics to a relationship. And let me just say this, ladies, if you are communicating with a man who doesn't know what he wants, then he's driven by his biology for you and not his intent for a significant relationship. Let me just say this. Without intent, then you're just running around with your head cut off like a chicken. You are rolling the dice if you are not intentional in the dating process. And listen, women tend to bond with men more frequently than the other way around. So you actually have something to lose to attach yourself to a person who doesn't really know what they want in relationship. And even what I'm about to share with you today, these things that men will do, isn't necessarily a guarantee, but it definitely puts the odds in your favor. Putting the odds in your favor. Listen, I recognize that it's a very complicated dating marketplace out there. It's very confusing. There's a lot of conflicting advice. Even my own advice sometimes can feel rather conflicting because one size doesn't fit all. The way an avoidant dates might be different the way an anxious person dates. Two anxious people together might operate different than two avoidant people. And now, if you're brand new to the terminology, anxious or avoidant, I highly recommend reading the book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller so you can understand something known as love attachment style. And there's basically two styles, secure and insecure. And within insecure are anxious and avoidant. So why is this so important? Because I recognize that it's frustrating for you. There's a lot of conflicting advice out there. What you need to do with all of this advice, my own included, is you have to parse out what really resonates with you, what aligns with your values, what aligns with your energetic makeup. Did you hear that? Your energetic makeup. We all have energy, and it's not masculine and feminine energy. It's just your individual energy. It is hard to quantify it by a binary precept of masculine and feminine. It would be so effing confusing to try to figure out, well, gee, am I in my masculine energy this moment? Am I in my feminine energy in this moment? I need to be in my feminine with him means I need to do this, but that. Can you see how radically frustrating a lot of this advice? That's why what I'm about to share with you is to give you some clues of how men operate when they really like you. And let me just say this. If you are with an emotionally grown-up man, meaning he is intentional about seeking a life partner, bump, 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 he's intentional about seeking a life partner. He says, I'm intentional about a life partner, then what I'm about to share might help guide you to determine if he likes you or not. So number one, he uses we language when he's communicating with you. We should do this. We should go on this trip. Now, I recognize that, anyone that overdoes it in that first, second, or third date, might be interested in something beyond your loving companionship for the next 30 or 40 years of his life. It might be that he's seeking physical intimacy with you. But I will say this. Once you've gotten past the physical intimacy, that first, second, or third time in bed, if he begins to start to use we language when he's communicating with you, it's probably a good sign that he really likes you beyond the surface. It's interesting. This title is If He Really Likes You, Make no mistake, he'll do these things. Like is kind of different than love. Like has a happy tone to it. Not that love doesn't have a happy tone to it, but think of the people in your world that you like. You have a happy smile when it comes to thinking about them. You can love somebody you don't like. That's where I'm getting at. You can have family members you love, but you don't necessarily like them. So I'm here to just acknowledge that like is slightly different than love. Number two, he checks in with you and he'll recognize when your mood is off. He'll check in with you and he will recognize when your mood is off. When you feel like a man who really likes you, he's paying attention to your energy. He can feel your energy field. When a man doesn't really like you, he doesn't feel your energy field. In fact, he's oftentimes avoidant. Again, people might chase sex and limerence, but they still might be avoidant. When someone likes you, he will tap into your energy field. And if your mood is off, he'll want to inquire, what's going on with you? That's certainly a sign. When you can be with a man who's attuned to your emotions, attuned to your feelings, and he says, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. He checks in with you. That's certainly a great sign that he really likes you. I've noticed that in every significant relationship with someone I cared about, I could feel when their energy was off. By the way, you felt it too. How many times have you felt a man energetically pull away? We have a tremendous capacity to read somebody else's energy. You have it, I have it, we all have it. It's just when someone likes you, they're attuned to you versus the avoidant person who is trying to keep space and differentiate himself from you. Number three, he pays attention to your needs. I'm going to share a relationship that happened after my divorce, but I dated a woman who liked to have this certain bottled water in her refrigerator. And I think it's called Penta water. I don't know if they still make that water. Excuse me. But when she came to visit me, I made sure that I had that bottled water for her. That's one example of catering or paying attention to her needs. She didn't ask that need to be met. I just intuitively, because I liked this person, I wanted to make her happy. I wanted to fill that need. Now, there are other needs. And I think the most important need is for honest communication, transparent communication, some level of certainty within the relationship. I think most people, once they've been physically intimate with each other, it's one significant need. And a man who really likes you is going to verbalize how he feels about you because he knows that's a need that needs to be met. And if you haven't articulated it, ladies, I'm here to encourage you to articulate your needs, because he may not always know what need you might have in that moment. But someone who really likes you is paying attention, and certainly someone who really likes you and cares for you wants to actually meet your needs. That's a very significant sign when someone genuinely cares about you and wants to be in a significant relationship with you. Number four, he starts doing the things that you like to do. In other words, he can be influenced by the way you do things. It might be the way you clean the kitchen. It might be some sport activity you like. When someone really likes you, he starts to do the things you like to do. I know you've been indoctrinated that women just sit in their feminine energy and let the man lead. But trust me, that becomes a rather boring relationship if the guy's always leading all the time. You want someone who is a co-creative partner, I suspect. You want someone who's a co-creative partner in your life. He's going to want to start to do the things you like to do. Maybe you like hiking. Maybe you like pickleball. Maybe you like to clean a certain way. Maybe you like to cook a certain way. Maybe you like a certain type of movie. Maybe you like a certain type of music. Whatever it is, he will start to want to engage in the things you like to do. That's certainly a great sign. I mean, I'm about to share something that piggybacks on this, but it isn't exactly related. But when he's with you, you make him want to be a better man. Like, in other words, if exercise is really important to you, a healthy life is important to you because you want to maximize all of this time on this trip, on this third rock from the sun, he can be influenced by the things you like to do because that demonstrates, or that's certainly a great sign that he likes you. And the fifth one for today, and I could have come up with a dozen or more of these. The fifth one today, when someone really likes you, is by the third month of the relationship, give or take. He's significantly progressing the relationship forward. It can happen much sooner than that, but certainly he progresses the relationship forward. He certainly, if you haven't by the third month been invited into his life, I'm saying by the third month, not beginning the third month. I meant by this time, if you haven't been introduced to his family, his friends, the important things in his life, the people that integrate you into his life, then it could possibly mean he doesn't really like you. When a man really likes you, by the time you get to the third month, and a lot of times it's even sooner than that, he will introduce you into his life. The fact of the matter is, for those of us in midlife, it's all about blending our lives with another human being. It's interesting. My brother was asking me about this because, he's been with his wife for almost 30 years. He has two children. He's only really known one significant relationship. At our stage in life, many of us have we have parents, we have grandparents, we have children, and they have theirs and they have theirs. And so trying to figure out how to introduce your families with one another can be a little bit complicated. But when a man really likes you, he wants to introduce you in his life. And if he hasn't by the third month, that could be a sign that he doesn't see this relationship going forward. A man who genuinely cares about you, sees a future with you by the third month, is definitely progressing the relationship forward. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know if it is. Post a comment below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. Also, hit the notification bell on your phone as well. Also, if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's a link to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's a link to get all the books I recommend, to follow me on Instagram, to get my dating vows, all in the show notes, all those links. All right. All right, I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathon bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.